making.
Have you ever watched one of Michael Knowles' speeches or seen his show in its entirety, not just like one of the clips?
I have not, no. I don't need to, though.
That's one thing I think is really important and a lot of people don't do nowadays is to listen to stuff you don't like. You gotta listen to the stuff that you don't agree with so you can hear the other side.
Students are often uninformed. That's why they're in college. They're supposed to get educated. But it seems they all had the same reason for hating me specifically.
For the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
I have seen some of his comments about the trans community specifically.
Saying that trans people should be eradicated from our communities.
You shouldn't be saying that they should be eradicated if you have never been in their shoes.
Can I just tell you, we're not gonna fucking eradicate anyone! You guys!
I don't want to eradicate anybody either.
He does!
Now, where could they have gotten that idea?
Numerous headlines after this speech said he wants to get rid of transgender people.
Basically just calling for the eradication of trans people.
Literally calling for a genocide.
Genocidal call. What else could you possibly mean besides getting rid of those people?
Now, that was all news to me. I never considered myself a particularly genocidal kind of guy, but that's what the news said. Almost as if the entire liberal establishment had been intentionally lying about what I said. The university administration dug in its heels and did nothing to correct the record before my speech. Instead, the administrators doubled down on the defamation. Unfortunately, the university only allowed 300 people to come listen to this speech, even though about 1,000 people tried to get tickets. Now, among those who got in, there were a lot who liked what I had to say, but there were even a few who came in prepared to disagree with me. And they sat down not just to hear the speech, but sat down opposite me to hash out our differences in person.
Now that is one of the most important things you can do. We grow when we talk. Nothing grows when we all are quiet and separate and nothing gets resolved. It just more hate, more separation. We need to come together, talk about the issues. So if right now I'm opening up into the comment section, if you guys want to have a discussion with me, I am super all about that.
When one calls to eradicate cancer, one is not suggesting that we ought to murder the cancer patients. So how did these liberal news editors come up with their headline that I wanted to commit a genocide of transgender people? Freedom itself cannot exist without limits. The question before us is not how free our society ought to be, but rather what will delineate the limits of freedom.
Becca, thank you for sitting down.
Of course.
Camilla, Karime, thank you for sitting down. You were outside of the auditorium with the protesters of this speech. Why were you protesting?
I was genuinely wondering how a man is going to explain how radical feminism is hurting women.
Did I convince you?
No, not really, no. I think you brought up some good points on like how there are certain types of feminism that aren't great because there's always a radical something that's not good. There's always going too far and doing too little.
I saw your poster also, and I was like, oh, it's just another speaker just coming in and talking. And then I started saying transgenderism should be eradicated. And as you know, eradicated it's a big word, and
yeah, eradicate, it's 5 syllables.
Stressed out? Time to
yeah. But it could be taken into different things to destroy and everything like that and to get rid of, which I think that's where you were going with.
That is very much, yeah.
Get rid of.
Yeah.
I have some transgender friends and they were really hurt by a lot of the news and a lot of what was happening. I wanted to stand with my community.
My argument is not, as some newspapers very irresponsibly reported, that I want to, exterminate people or something. But my argument is that this whole idea of transgenderism is pretty new. You both have friends who identify in this way. There are many more people, right, who say, I am transgender. And so my question is, why are so many more people saying that now?
You said that like this, like being transgender is this new ideology.
Yeah.
It's not. There's evidence of people who were transgender in ancient Greece, Rome. Judaism is an example of a religion that acknowledges, I think, 6 or 7 genders.
I don't think that's quite true. And my evidence for that would be in the very first book of the Torah, in Genesis. One of the most prominent lines is that in the beginning, God created man, both male and female created he them.
It's not, but Judaism. I think what the original translation, I can't cite my source right now, okay, but from what I've learned going to different like religious schools, is that
Jewish schools?
Just synagogues, temples. I've tried and like experienced different religions. They said that the original text said Adam and Eve as in one being, one.
Well, man. So in the earliest chapters of Genesis, you have the creation of man in Adam. And then Eve is created from Adam's rib, but she would be the other sex. What you're citing is this line that a lot of people who are pro-transgender will say, which is, actually in some Native American tribe that I can't quite name right now, I'm sure they believe in a third and a fourth and a fifth gender, but that just isn't true. That is that's been made up by white liberals.
You know the movie Mulan, Disney Mulan?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Mulan, dresses as a man, right, goes to war. That's based off of true history.
Oh yes, cross-dressing has occurred in history.
Not just cross-dressing, but people who
in
went
Mulan, did the female character think she was a man?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Why there's so many spikes and like people saying that they're transgender is because people are much more comfortable now, like going out and saying that they're like transgender because they know that there now is like that community that will accept them.
What if they're not really comfortable though? There's a guy who pioneered the transgender surgery at Johns Hopkins. His name is Dr. Paul McHugh, and he created the Gender Identity Clinic, and he gave these experimental surgeries to men who thought they were women. And he ended up shutting it down because he said people were not more satisfied in the long run after the surgery. Is it possible that people expressing this transgender identity is not really making them all that happy?
No. Okay. Male transitioning into female. So my aunt, she was never happier than she was after she transitioned. So she's happy, like she's living her life now that she's transitioned. It's like, you never know, like what if they can't feel that way if they stayed how they were?
Do you think that the person you now call your aunt, do you think that, I would say he, really is a she, it really is a woman? Or is it just kind of a little bit of a white lie that we all tell to make this person feel better?
No, I think it is, I think they actually are like female. I think there's just some people out there that are just born in the wrong bodies.
Can I ask you a question though?
Please.
Like,
Yeah.
do you have kids?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, right, saying like if your kids want to transition and they tell you like they don't feel like how they.
Yeah.
How would you respond?
Well, I would
respond with positivity, respectfulness, investigating that, but I would never let them do anything permanent. So that's your decision once you make it as an adult, and apparently that's a 18-year-old nowadays, people say once you're an adult you can have a tattoo. So I would say wait till then, honestly.
hope that the likelihood of that happening would be greatly diminished because I would not be raising them in a culture that would encourage it. And so we do see, even if you think that there is a biological component to this gender identity ideology, we do see that in communities and ages that are more encouraging of it, you see the numbers of gender identity cases skyrocket. So I think the fact that we're raising our children in a more traditional kind of environment would at least reduce the possibility. More than 1 in 5 Zoomers identifies as LGBTQ+. That's about a 10-fold increase over the general population.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this is catching on.
Because now they can.
1 in 5 people is just born that way. You don't think there's any social contagion?
I, again, can't cite the exact source. In my biology class here in this school, we learned that there are some biological indicators for gay men They have a smaller gland in their brain that shows up on scans.
Even if that were the case, that wouldn't change the way that we necessarily ought to behave. The way that we are born does not imply that we are slaves to our nature, because human beings, unlike the lower animals, have intellect and will. And so because we have a rational will, we can actually curb some of our appetites and bring them into accord with our rational will, which is conscious. Let's say, God forbid, that my kid has any problems, one of which is he struggles with his view of sex or gender. Probably what I would tell him is, hey, love you, buddy, but this is reality. And so I would try to ballast my kids, or any loved one that I have, in the truth. Because there's a great quote from C.S. Lewis on this. He says, if you look for truth, you might find comfort in the end. But if you look for comfort, you will find neither truth nor comfort, only soft soap and wishful thinking to begin, and in the end, despair. Despair because you got nothing to hold on to other than your own fleeting passions.
I have lots of trans friends.
You have lots of friends who think they're the opposite sex.
I have lots of friends who
what if they're
identify
mistaken
as
about
trans.
that?
What?
What if they're...
That happens. People transition and then detransition. That happens. People think they're gay, then some people all of a sudden they're straight again. My mom had me and my older brother and younger sister, and then she became a lesbian. Now she's happily married, so shit changes.
They're wrong. What if
you're wrong about being straight?
I guess I would still behave as though I were straight. My view of sex and gender is that our true sexuality and our true gender is not from some deeply hidden and authentic appetite that might be invisible to the public, but is actually prescribed according to our human nature.
But who are you to tell people that they're wrong?
Well, I'm a man with reason and a moral conscience.
And I am a woman with reason. And I think it's not my place to tell somebody that what they're feeling is wrong.
You just told me that I'm wrong about transgenderism.
Yeah, you just told me that.
It's time to stop worrying about mattress shopping because of the living...
You guys in the comments, let me hear it. What do you got to say? I'd love to get into a dialogue about this.
How we all choose to live is our business because we live in society.
Why is it my business if somebody identifies as a woman or not?
Well, because right now women are allowed to have their own bathrooms, and if a man is allowed to identify as a woman in public, women are not allowed to have their own bathrooms.
Do you know a man can just walk into the bathroom at any time, right?
But he'll be arrested in a normal society. In our society, he could sue if he were kicked out of the women's bathroom.
People aren't just identifying as trans to look up girls' skirts.
It's sad, but yes, they are. Yes, they do. And they can. And it's scary. But it definitely happens. Like, just because you don't think people can be that way or that evil or, doesn't mean that there are not people out there like that. There are evil people out there. And they will take advantage of any system put in place. Or even if there isn't a system.
Some people are. Some people, there are crimes. Well, there was a pretty prominent crime in Loudoun County.
I mean, it's good that you don't know these people, right? You don't want to know these people, but they're out there. They exist, just like trans people exist, just like straight people exist. Just everybody. There's literally a person, every kind of person out there.
Where a high school student who wore skirts and identified as gender ambiguous would go into the girls' room and he raped 2 girls at 2 different schools, and it was covered up because of the transgender ideology.
See, I can't swear on it. That's messed up.
It's messed up. It's messed up.
So
I agree.
There, right? One example, but to generalize that to all.
I'm not opposed to transgender.
I have the same exact thoughts about transgenderism. Aren't they supposed to be the 1%? So why are the majority of people changing everything to fit this 1%?
Because I think some individual who thinks he's transgender is a really rotten fella.
Why?
In fact, I'm only opposed to transgenderism because of the general fact that a man can't become a woman and a woman can't become a man, because I can know that to be true. And if I can't know that to be true objectively, then I can't really know much of anything at all, right?
They choose, to go through those transformations in order to feel like their soul and their body actually resonates.
So is the idea that your true identity is your soul and your body is only incidental to that because to even say your true identity, I think, well, your true identity has got something to do with your body, I think. I don't think your true identity has nothing to do with your body, right?
Yeah,
I think
would
we
say
are.
that.
We are our souls. And I think, well, growing up in a Catholic church, I think of myself as my soul. And I think that my body, you know, it's my flesh. It's temporary.
Are you still Catholic, would you say?
No.
No. Because, you know, the Catholic idea is, yes, of course, we are souls in part, but we are also bodies, and that our bodies and souls have a lot to do with one another, and they're inseparable. So, you know, the Catholic idea would be to say that your soul is contradicting your body. That would not go along with the Catholic idea. And it's very interesting that there's this new, maybe religious view, which is that no, our bodies, has nothing to do with our true selves. That view is called Gnosticism, Gnostic dualism, that we're really our souls and the body is evil or something like that. But I just wonder, how do we know that's true? How do you know that you're not really, at least in part, your body?
They always say mind over body, you know? Because your brain, you know, it's the thing that controls, like, everything, you know?
I'm sorry, mind over body? Isn't it mind over matter?
Like, sends off, like, these signals and...
But your brain is your body, too. Your mind is not your body. You know, that's the immaterial part, but the brain is part of your body. It's an organ, right?
Well, yeah.
My primary problem with transgenderism is that it isn't true. And because it's false, there are harmful consequences from it.
They're not doing...
He's like super religious and stuff, and I'm not, so he's got like a different take on this. I still think people can do whatever they want. It doesn't affect me. You can live your life. Like I said, you can be happy, you deserve to be respected, and you deserve to get the help that you want or need. So he's got a slightly different take on this than I do, but it more comes down to, I don't want anyone being hurt. I don't want anyone being harmed. I think safety in the society above all else.
Doing any harm to you?
Yeah, well, I think that sexual dysfunction's caused a lot of harm. The breakdown of the family, the obliteration of women's rights in private spaces, the mutilation of children, which now we're seeing just abound in the country, the sterilization of children. So I think there are a lot of pretty...
I'm not for that.
That hormone therapy was made for, like, girls who get their periods at the age of 6. You can go on estrogen and it will go back.
It doesn't. That's what they tell you, but it's not true.
See, I don't know which way to think about that. Like, puberty blockers sound dangerous to me. That's all I know. They sound dangerous. I don't know enough about them. I don't know enough people who have taken them. I've not written any, side effects later down the years, but I've heard that, like, these puberty blockers are supposed to be for, like, rapists, so that they, like, will lose all,
And there are a lot of detransitioners who talk about the lifelong effects that
lifelong, okay, but it's
so they don't want to do that stuff anymore.
Detransitioners, women who have male pattern baldness and a lowered voice for the rest of their life, and who are sterile, too. I mean, that's pretty...
See, I've also heard a lot of this side of the people who have gone through and say, oh my God, I wish I didn't do that. I have male pattern baldness. I can no longer have an orgasm. I don't hear a lot of the other side, and I would love to hear from the other side. People that actually want to have a discussion and not just yell and scream and curse. It seems like most of the people on this side who are saying, like, yes for transgenderism and everything, like, they are just, it's all feelings and there's no discussion. It's just, you're wrong! I'd love to have a discussion.
That's tough. You can't have
kids.
kids.
Yeah, that happened. Okay, I probably can't have kids either. I have PCOS. So what?
Do you think we should sterilize more children?
It's not sterilizing kids.
No, that is. We were just talking about it.
It's really not, though. It's stopping them from going through puberty.
What do you think sterilization is?
Where they don't want to go.
I guess maybe we're just using different terms for the same thing.
Probably.
But in any case, I appreciate your coming on. And
I have something for you.
Okay.
I found it outside. I thought you'd really like it.
Is this a fan letter?
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them
He was
out
right.
there.
Radical feminism did ruin my life, and it's me dressed up as an official from the Biden administration, I think. Yeah.
How do you know? That's crazy.
That's pretty funny.
It would appear I was not able to change the minds of these young students, but they came, they listened, and they had a conversation. So maybe, just maybe, I was able to plant a seed that could flourish in the...
I just think it's all about the conversation, and that's what's important. So without watching the rest of the video, you guys have a great day. Take care, and hopefully I'll be seeing some of you in the comments section.